think we're going to do Wednesdays from the sanctuary so that people can come and experience it together. And we'll also put it on Facebook like this, but it'll be in the sanctuary with people there. There we go. I see that we're on, so I'll repeat it. Wednesdays are a great day, and I think we're going to attempt as we get going to do our Wednesdays in the sanctuary if we can, and which I think would be very exciting. I can't believe we're at the end of September. we came through the month of Elul, came through the High Holy Day season, and we're almost in October. It's fall. It's literally the fall. I know that. Hello, Kathy. I know that because my mother's birthday is like the first day of the fall, which was September 20th. And we're in the midst of it right now, although in California it's been very cold. It's been like, high 60s, so it's been freezing here. I'm sure that all of you on the East Coast can appreciate that. So as we begin our Wednesday, yesterday we started, hello sis, we started talking about Simchat Torah yesterday. So yesterday was about endings and beginnings. Today, let's talk a little bit about beginnings. There was an excellent article I'm going to see if I could catch this. There was a wonderful article that came out about hello Jerry, about the Genesis story, and living with really it's like living with ambiguity in a way, because the Genesis story of creation actually is two separate stories. If you want to check this out, chapter 1 is one story. That's the story we all know, from chaos to order. Let there be light, and there's light. Let there be a separation, there's a separation. Let there be vegetation. And God just says it, and it happens. Then if you go to chapter 2, verse 4, actually second half of verse 4, there begins the second one. That one is where Adam is created first, and then all the animals are created, and then Eve's created, and they're put in the Garden of Eden. Those are two completely separate stories. God has the name Elohim in the first one and Yahweh Elohim in the second. Different order, different concept of the way God works with humanity. The first one is about judgment, right? God knows it's good. God thinks things are very good. And in the second one, it's more about compassion, where God literally creates humanity out of clay and feels bad that Adam's alone, and so creates Eve. In addition, the idea of the way humanity is created and the relationship between men and women and the idea of gender is very different in these two stories. In the first story, Adam and Eve are created or God creates humanity, Adam, and then it says male and female God creates them. So is that one Adam who is both male and female? Is it that there are two forms of Adam and they're male and female? Could be that Adam was an androgynous being. Who knows? It could be that Adam was both. It's questionable. But if we go binary, God creates male and female, right, at the exact same time. When it comes to the relationships in chapter 2, Adam is created first. The rib's taken out of Adam, and then Eve is created. And Eve is created as an ezer kenegdo, which loosely translated is, an ezer kenegdo is someone who helps opposed to you. Interestingly, right, it's like originally the way that people think of it is an ezer kenegdo is a helper, but it's really someone who helps by negdo, with neged is across, against, not necessarily in a negative way against, but just kind of across from you. So in that case, Eve and Adam are separate. They have separate ideas about who they are, but Adam is the lead guy, and Eve is kind of, second on the side, taken from Adam. Very different way to look at the creation of man and woman and how they come together and relate to each other. So, what all of this brings up, the article that I'm referring to reminds me of this and talks about how there's two American stories of Genesis, of creation of America. One is that we left the British and, we wanted to have a free country. And the other one is that we built it on the backs of slaves. And that there were certain people who were not free. And it actually was, they were white supremacists if they were living in 2021. They wouldn't have considered themselves that, but that is the way they were. So how do we live with, how do we reconcile those two things? That on the one hand, yes, this is a free country and anyone can come here from anywhere in the world and have their freedom. And yet on the other hand, we completely decimated the indigenous people of this land and we enslaved people by stealing them from their birthplace and bringing them to this place and using them. So how do we reconcile those two things? How do we reconcile that we have two creation stories that tell very different views? And I think the point that she makes, I think, is well taken, and that is, and I'm really sorry. Maybe I can find it. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, it's hard for me to find it because I'd use my phone. But if you look Genesis and beginnings, you should be able to find this article. And I think it was in the Jewish Telegraph Agency put it out. So the idea is, how do we live with these two stories? And Judaism is all about living kind of in the tension of what happens. And I think that's I think what we can do with our mindfulness on this is that many times in our lives there are going to be two narratives. One narrative, may be positive for us, and another narrative might not be. One narrative may be one narrative might be something that creates good feelings, and yet another narrative could bring us down a very dark road. Now, those two things can exist at the same time, and they can both be true. But I think what happens to us is we don't want to think about the negative one. We don't want to think about the ideas that that can cause us pain. So we tend to lean towards narratives that make us look good, make the people around us look good, and make it so that we can continue living the lives exactly the way we want to live them. Noticing is the key word for our mindfulness. And how do we notice both stories at the same time? How do we carry both narratives? How do we carry the idea that humanity is created at the same time and Adam was created before Eve and they were placed in the Garden of Eden? How do we reconcile the fact that it is true that we broke from the British and tried to create a country where everyone is free? And to a certain extent that is true. And yet we also did it on the backs and the lives of non-whites. That is true. That is part of our story. Can we hold those two things together as both being true? Can we hold together our own stories that we tell ourselves, even if there is another narrative that perhaps someone else has about the same exact situation? Or we both think that it's the right story because we want ourselves to look good and we want to be good people. So I think part of this is, how do we be honest with the negative story that doesn't put us in a good light? Or how do we be honest about that aspect of some story that is part of our lives, but we don't feel good about it? Can we carry that with things that we do feel good about? I think that's a lot to think about. And so we'll leave it at that. And we'll go now to our quiet time, where perhaps we can reflect on these stories, and as they come to us, we will be thinking about something. Our mind will take us away. Interesting to notice whether it takes us to a positive place or it takes us down a negative road. And, I didn't think about that as I was talking through this, is that we may be latching on to one side of a story that puts us in a bad light, and it makes us feel bad about ourselves, when another truth could lead us towards a luminous light, a luminous truth. Okay. Just get yourself in your whatever position you prefer. Hello, Irene. Hello, Helene. You know what? It looks like it's the everybody that's on. Sis and Jerry and Helene and Irene. You guys are the only ones on. I love it. This is like our own little private party that we're having. So, wait a minute. I forgot Kathy. Maybe Kathy. Oh, Kathy wasn't here. Usually Kathy's here too. Oh boy, here comes the dog. All right, let's get to it now. Here we go. Let's try to feel each breath coming in and out. See if you can follow your breath all the way through to the corners. And to breathe that neshama in. The nefesh is that turn. And ruach is the breath out. And you may feel as if some of the things you're thinking about are moments you have to solve. Let's try not to solve anything right now. Let's just allow everything to be as it is for this moment, without judgment, without our minds interfering with our mere existence. As we bring our session to a close, we ask on Wednesdays for the second of our three blessings. May I feel luminous. May I feel loved. May I feel luminous, shining, bright. Knowledge. May I feel loved, cared for, that I matter. With each breath, may I feel luminous. May I feel loved. May I feel luminous and loved. May I feel luminous. May I feel loved. May I feel luminous and loved. You might want to feel one or the other more than one or the other, so if you just want to ask to feel loved over and over, you can do that. May I feel luminous. May I feel loved. May I feel luminous and loved. May I feel luminous. And may I feel loved. With that in our minds, just concentrate your last several breaths on just your breath. Feel it come in and out of your body, filling you with love, filling you with luminescence. Feel your breath fill you and leave you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you were able to find peace and stillness. May you feel luminous, and may you feel loved. Have a wonderful evening.